Hello students, this is Professor Faiz Raut from Jain College of Engineering, Department of MBA. This is our Unit 4 or Module 4, which is about market structure and pricing practices. In the previous module we talked about what is the costs of a product which we are manufacturing, how to determine that cost, and what are the different production variables with production factors, okay, and what is the amount of production which a company needs to do, a company needs to manufacture, when it needs to manufacture, how we have determined that depending upon our second module, which the last part of the second module, which was about demand forecasting. We have forecasted the demand and determined what can be the demand in the near future. So depending upon that we have done the production. And what is a demand forecasting? We have dealt it with in the second last part of the second module, and in the previous first half of the second module we dealt about the demand and supply analysis. What is demand, what is supply, what are the exceptions to demand, what are the elasticity of demand and elasticity of supply. Okay, and now we come to the actually the final point. Okay, and in the third module we also discussed regarding the break-even analysis, break-even point in terms of units and quantities, and in terms of amount or prices. So in the this can be considered as the final part, because now we are going into the market where there are buyers and there are sellers. How a market is structured, and what are the different kinds of market, and what are the different kinds of pricing practices, what price a company needs to keep of its output or units which are produced for the customers. So in this model we are determining the different kinds of markets: perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. These are the four kinds of markets which we are going to talk about. There are one or two like duopoly and monopoly also, but they are not much relevant to as far as your syllabus is concerned. Okay, uh, and then we have descriptive pricing approaches: full cost pricing, product line pricing, product life cycle pricing, pricing strategies, price giving, price penetration, loss leader pricing, peak load pricing. Okay, this you have also studied in marketing also. So pricing practices also is the last part of this module. Okay, so while in going through introduction, it is just about what is a market, what input output relation is there, and what are the quantities and revenue and costs and all the things about. You can go through that. And the concept of market, it is just a locality, a place where goods and services are bought and sold. Okay, you have Crawford Market in Mumbai, Chandni Chowk Market in Delhi, KR Market in Bangalore, and the term market is also referred to the reference of a product. Wheat market, vegetable market or sabzi bandi, gold market, stock market. Okay, they can be uh, markets related to specific products. Okay, in economics the word market is used rather than abstract sense. A market is a mechanism by which buyers and sellers interact to determine the price and quantity of the good or service. The sellers and buyers may be individuals, firms, factories, dealers, and agents. Okay, so a market system, and there is an overview we can go through. I'll directly jump over to the perfect competition, which is one of the type of the market. So perfect competition, you just need to imagine, as I've told in the class as well, a bhaji market, so that you will get all the characteristics in your mind itself. You don't need to think about what were the characteristics or features of a perfect competition. If you imagine a vegetable market, the characteristics of perfect competition goes: there are large number of buyers and sellers. Okay, too many buyers, too many sellers, there is no restrictions at all, anyone can come in, anyone can go out. All the sellers are selling homogeneous products. Their tomatoes, potatoes, onions, vegetables are almost the same products, all are selling the homogeneous products. So that's the reason there are free entry and exit of the firms. Anyone can come into that market by and start selling their items. Anyone can go from the market. There are no restrictions for that. There is perfect mobility of factor of production. Whatever the factor of production is there, whatever they are selling, bringing in into the market, it is a perfect mobility. They can go to any market. The consumers can come in anytime during in any market. and they have the perfect knowledge. So everyone in the market is having perfect knowledge what is the quality of the product which is being sold in that bhaji market, what is the price of every commodity. There is a lot of bargaining happening. There are same price of the product in different markets in a few nearby localities. You cannot charge 50 rupees a kg for tomatoes, and in another market it is selling at maybe 70 or 80 rupees. Okay, that cannot happen. If the localities are nearby, the people will get to know what is the where is the low cost tomatoes are getting sold. If they are of same quality, all the people from that 80 rupees wala market will come to this 50 rupees wala market and come and buy the tomatoes. So the buyer and the seller will have perfect knowledge what price to be what price to be kept, and what kind of products need to be kept. Okay, so this is how perfect knowledge is there. There is absence of any collusion or artificial restraint, and no sellers can have a union and they decide we'll increase the price, we'll cap the pricing, some anything like that. That cannot be done. Okay, each seller and each buyer is independent, and no government intervention is there. The government cannot intervene to stop any firm to legally they cannot do it, nor any seller can restrict some another seller to enter into a market, nor any buyer can come can be restricted to come and buy in that bhaji market. Okay. Okay. Then the price determination under perfect competition, as it is an independent market, no one basically will be determining the price. Okay, the market itself will decide the price. So the demand and supply analysis which we had studied in the second module, it is the graph, the first graph is similar to this. Okay, and this is the price at which I am having equilibrium between this demand curve and the supply curve. At this price, at this point, this is the price which I am keeping, and this is the quantity which is being demanded, and this is my equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Okay, so if you draw the price with respect to quantity, the price will remain same. Okay, and then moving on to the monopoly market. Monopoly is, as the term suggests, you have an idea as well. Monopoly is the market where there is one seller and there are many buyers. One seller and many buyers. That one seller will have a monopoly in selling the products which it is manufacturing. And why this monopoly is caused? Because monopoly is not liked by the consumers, because the producer can charge any price. Okay, it will not try to improve the quality of the product, because it is the only one who is manufacturing the product. There is no competition for him, so there is no need for him to improve the price, improve the quality of the product, and it can keep any price. So it is very beneficial for the supplier, but not beneficial for the consumers. So even the consumer will not come to know whether the product which they are using is of high quality and of reasonable prices or no, because there is no reference point in monopoly. Okay, so why this is caused? Okay, what are the kinds of monopoly and why this is caused is because there are some legal restrictions or barriers to entry of new firms. There is control over the supply of key raw material. There is efficiency in production, or there is economies of scale. Okay, in legal restrictions, there are certain restrictions by the government of that country, government of that region, that the private firms cannot enter into this business. Okay, just for example, in defense in India, manufacturing of guns, arms, ammunition, manufacturing of satellites, and electricity distribution in almost entire India, and Indian Railways. There are many such examples where the government has restricted the entry of private firms. So only government firms can run business can supply the products related to this. So the private firms are not allowed. So there is a restrictions from as far as this businesses are concerned from the government. So because of that legal restrictions, a monopoly is being created. And the second one is about control of key raw materials. There are companies where they need to buy some raw materials, and those raw materials have been controlled by the government. Okay, and they cannot just buy the raw materials and start manufacturing of the products related to that. They need to take permission, then buy the raw materials, and those who are having control over that raw material, only they can actually have a monopoly in that. If they want, they can sell it to other companies, or they can set up their own company and start manufacturing their own products. So that can create a monopoly. And then it is about efficiency in production. Efficiency in production is when the only that company has the technology, or if only that company has the financial strength to set up that factory and start the business, or only that company has the innovative ability. Okay, so in that all these cases, that company will only be manufacturing that item and selling those item, and it will create again a monopoly. And the last one is about the monopoly economies of scale. Economies of scale is the large scale production which the company needs to achieve in order to manufacture that product. That product cannot be manufactured in smaller quantities, or even if the product can be manufactured in smaller quantities, and if you are setting up a huge plant and manufacturing that product, the per unit cost of production reduces, and because of that your price also gets reduced to a significant amount, and your competitors are of no match with your price of the product and the quality which you are providing, same quality which you are providing at a very low cost product. So because of that your competitor cannot survive, and because of that large scale production you are able to achieve the economies of scale, and eventually a monopoly can be created because of that. Okay. Then moving on to the monopoly pricing and output decision. Okay, even in monopoly you cannot keep any prices, nor you cannot manufacture n number of outputs. Okay, there are some um, what do you say, technically correct pricing and technically correct output which you need to manufacture. Okay, so this is the there is a explanation along with a graph. Okay, so this graph I'll be discussing when I'll be discussing about monopolistic competition, because this graph is very much it is exactly same as in monopolistic competition also, because the what is the output you need to keep, and what is the unit cost which you will be incurring, and what is the revenue which you will be generating. So what is the prices you need to keep, and what is the output you need to manufacture, depending upon the average revenue, marginal revenue, average cost, and marginal cost. So that is what has been discussed even in monopolistic competition also. So I'll discuss this graph there. Okay, and I'll move on to monopolistic competition directly. So in monopolistic competition, it is, as the name suggests, it is a part of monopoly. Okay, some part of monopoly is also there in this, and there is a competition also in this. So that means it is somewhere in between perfect competition and in monopoly. So monopolistic competition has the element of monopoly. Okay, which arises from the fact that each firm has an absolute right to produce and sell a branded or a patented product. So every product will have it patent, it will have a brand name. Okay, that cannot be copied by any company easily, or it is not legal basically to copy a patented product directly. And other firms are prevented by laws from producing and selling a branded product of other firms. This gives a firm monopoly power over the production, pricing, and sale of its own branded product. Okay, you can so consider an example: Parle G, Hide and Seek, Monaco, Crackjack, Bourbon, 2020, Marie All this is an example of FMCG, or the biscuits. Okay, where these branded biscuits is produced and sold by a company having monopoly power over the product. No other company can produce and sell under this brand name. Okay, so similar examples of some of the FMCG products which I have mentioned here. Okay, so all these companies have monopoly for their brand, and also uh, along with monopoly they are under competition because of the fact that each generic brand has several close substitutes, and firms selling branded products of the same generic category have to compete for the market share. So if you take maybe Ariel and Henko. Okay, these are the two brands of washing powder which they are manufacturing. The the basic product, the generic product of both the brands is of washing powder detergent which they are manufacturing, and the detergent, both the detergents are used for the same kind of products or the clothes, for doing the same kind of activity which is cleaning. So both of them, they need to be differentiated in the minds of the customers. So that's the reason there is competition exists between uh, in, uh, exist under monopolistic competition, because the firms which they are under monopolistic competition, they are competing because they are manufacturing the products which are catering to the same requirement of the customers. Okay, so what are the characteristics or features of monopolistic competition? Is first is most important is about product differentiation. You are supposed to project your product, make aware to the customers that your product is differentiated, it has some USP, and we are best in the market as compared to the other brand. You cannot so in product differentiation factor, you need to do a immense amount of advertisement to make sure that the customer buy your product, and you are able to um, tell in the advertisement that how your product is differentiated from your competitors. Only then you will be able to catch the catch the attention of the customer and penetrate into the market and acquire the market share. Once you are able to tell about how product is differentiated, how your product is differentiated from the other products. If you are manufacturing me too products which are very much same than the other product, then you might not get a considerable market share. The second point in the features or the characteristics of monopolistic competition is large number of sellers. Again, the sellers are very large. You cannot count it in your one hand. Okay, the examples which I have shown in the above notes, there are so many companies who manufacture products, so many companies who manufacture detergents, so many companies manufacture so many products and a monopolistic competition. So you need to do a kind of advertisement here, and there is again free entry and exit of the firms, no one is restricted. There is selling cost which is involved, unlike perfect competition and monopoly market, because in perfect competition you don't need to do advertisement. In monopoly also you don't need to advertise your product. You need to advertise here because you are showing your customers how your product is differentiated. So there is a selling cost which gets involved. So advertising of your product, promotion of your product, setting up stalls for your product, giving free samples, giving some schemes. So you are spending more for selling your product into the market. And then the downward sloping demand curve. The monopolistic competitive firm always faces downward sloping demand curve. The reason is monopolistic competitive firm can increase its price and still retain some buyers with brand loyalty, and can increase the demand for its product by decreasing the price because of relatively a higher cross elasticity of the competitive product. Okay, so there is brand loyalty which comes into picture. Because of that brand loyalty, the customer will stick on to your brand for certain time, even if you increase the price. So you will have the customers which are sticking to your brand because of high increase in price. You can decrease the price and can invite more customers from the competitive brand, and make them even can you can make them a brand loyal customers also, those new customers also. So that's the reason, because of brand loyalty and reduction in the prices, in both the cases you will be getting a downward sloping demand curve. Okay, and this is what I was talking about, price and output determination. You cannot keep any price or output or manufacture any output. You need to determine what is the range of price, or what is the range, or what exactly you need to produce, how much you need to produce. Okay, so this is the explanation. Okay, about this graph. So in this video it is about price and output determination under monopolistic competition. So price and output determination under monopoly and in monopolistic competition, the analysis and the graph is same. Okay, in monopoly and in monopolistic competition, the manufacturer cannot keep any price what he wants, and cannot manufacture any amount of output. Okay, so the output will determine on the demand of the product, and the price will depend upon how much the consumers are willing to pay, and along with that how much cost is being incurred by the manufacturer and the producer of that particular commodity. Okay, so I'll begin with the explanation. In this, the x-axis which we have is the output, and the y-axis which we have represents cost and revenue both. Okay, so how much output we need to, or the producer needs to manufacture, will be we'll get it from the x intercept, and how much revenue which can be generated, and what is the cost which will be incurred, that will be represented from our y intercepts. Okay, and O is our origin. So I'll begin with the explanation. This represents a AR curve or D. Okay, AR is our average revenue curve, where we are generating revenue, which this curve we have, or this line we have discussed in the third module in the production in the production and the cost function. And this you can also consider as a demand curve D, where the whatever demand is there for our product, that much revenue, that much sales we are doing, and that much revenue we are generating. And the second one represents the MR curve. Okay, the marginal revenue curve. Marginal revenue is the revenue which we are getting by selling every additional product. Every one additional product when we are selling, we are generating a revenue which is also represented as MR, marginal revenue. Okay, we have studied costs. So this is our average cost, which is just like a saucer. Okay, which is coinciding with the AR revenue, AR curve, okay, at a certain point. So AC and AR are intersecting at a point. Similarly, this is our MC, which is marginal cost curve. Okay, marginal cost curve is intersecting at MR curve, also at AR and AC curve at two different points. Okay, so if we analyze from this this point where MR and MC curve are intersecting, my revenue and cost are same at this point. Okay, so at this point I'll be having a break even. Before this point, what is happening? My MC is here, my MR is here. Okay, so before this point, on the left side towards the origin, my cost is below and my revenue is higher. So because of that, because of this, at this and in this region, my profit is, I'm getting basically profit, because my revenue is higher, my cost is lower, and at this point they are meeting together, and I'm having a break even. After this point, my revenue is dropping and my cost is increasing. So in this region, after this point, in this region, I'm having losses. So as per logic, at point N, I'll be manufacturing Q quantity, which is represented by OQ intercept. So OQ is the quantity which I'll be manufacturing maximum. I cannot go more than manufacturing of OQ, because I'll not be able to make profit by selling so many items. There might be no customers. So my maximum output for my profit will be from OQ, O to Q, this much. And at point N, I'll be having break even, and this is the quantity which has been finalized now. Now what is the price? Because we are determining price as well as output. So output we have got it, which is OQ, and what is the price we can keep? So if I can extend this n to my revenue, because why I'm extending till here, this is my demand curve, okay, my average revenue or demand curve. So at demand I'll able to tell what is the maximum price I can keep. So if this is the demand, I can keep my price this much at this point, okay. So and this point is represented, okay, at this point, okay, this point is represented as P1 to P. This is the price I can keep maximum, but below this price also I can keep from here, okay. So this is my AC curve, AC average cost curve at this point, okay. At this point I am keeping my price below my below this line. At this point my cost is exactly equal to price, so whatever cost I have incurred, at least that much price I need to keep in order to start making profits, or at least a break even, because at this point I'm having a break even. This line is a break even for my output definitely, and at this point I'm having another break even where my cost is equal to the price which I am keeping, okay. This is my revenue which I am generating, this is the price I am keeping, which is way above the cost, okay. So definitely this is more than my break even. At this point my cost and my price is getting coincided, so I cannot go below this point for keeping my revenue, my price, okay. I cannot go below this point. So that's the reason this is the point which I have selected, and this is the price range. So P1 and P2 is my 2 points, and this is my at point M, okay. So PM will be representing my point, my region in which I can keep my price. So my price can vary anywhere between these 2 points, okay. And at this region I can keep any quantity between O to Q, and at this region I can keep any price between P1 to P2, okay. So this is how we will determine the price and output under monopolistic competition, okay. Even under monopoly it is fine, but in monopolistic competition, if you remember, we were discussing regarding the product differentiation factor. So in monopolistic competition you have to market, make the consumers aware about your product, what your product is differentiated, how your product is differentiated, how your product is different from the competitors. So along with that, you need to keep the price of your product in this price range and manufacture this much of output. If you want to increase the output, okay, if you want to increase the output, then definitely you need to go above this. Then in that case you need to increase your MC to left side. That means try to decrease your cost. If you decrease your cost, okay, then the MC will move to the right, and that's the reason if your MC is moving to the right, okay, you will find somewhere output here, okay, and your MR can also be increased. Your revenue will also start to increase if your cost is shifting, okay. So in order to make much more output, you need to shift your marginal cost. That means the company needs to decrease the cost of manufacturing of the products, because marginal cost will it's the basically the cost of production, the cost of marketing, the cost of transport, okay. All this cost will be marginal costs, okay, where product is involved. Basically when you are linking all the cost to the product, that is consisting of marginal cost. So you need to reduce your marginal cost in order to increase the output, because your revenue will also shift, okay. So that's it, on price and output determination under monopolistic competition, okay. So moving forward to oligopoly. Oligopoly is defined as a market structure at which there are few sellers selling homogeneous or differentiated products. In case oligopoly firm sells a homogeneous product, it is called as pure or homogeneous oligopoly. For example, industries producing bread, steel, cement, petrol, cooking oil, cooking gas, chemicals, aluminium, sugar are industries characterized by homogeneous oligopoly, where there are firms. Okay, so in oligopoly there are few firms basically, but they are manufacturing more or less the same product, unlike in monopolistic competition where the product was differentiated. Here we cannot differentiate much, where if you are going to HP petrol pump and filling petrol, you are going to Indian Oil petrol pump and you are filling petrol, you cannot differentiate the product. Okay, there is exactly homogeneous product. If you are buying HP gas and Indian gas, okay, it is not possible you to differentiate the product properly. As a consumer, you cannot at all differentiate the product. And for same, for example, for sugar, if you are going to more outlet, you are buying sugar of that private label more outlet. And if you are going to Reliance Mart and you are buying sugar, okay, you cannot differentiate the quality of the sugar. But there are some firms of an oligopoly industry sell differentiated products. It is called as differentiated or heterogeneous oligopoly. Automobiles, television sets, soaps, detergents, refrigerators, soft drinks, computers, cigarettes are some of example by heterogeneous oligopoly. So the heterogeneous oligopoly or monopolistic competition looks very similar. Okay, but if you can determine, if you can tell the differentiation factor of your product, then it can come under a monopolistic competition. If you cannot talk about differentiation factor of your product, then it will come under heterogeneous oligopoly. Okay, so in simple words, a market structure is said to be oligopolistic when there are 4 to 10 firms which form at least 75% of the market share. So if you have in one hand, if you can count the number of firms and they are selling same kind of products, then definitely it is an oligopoly. And if those firms acquire 75% of the market share, then definitely it will be an oligopoly. Toothpaste can be considered as heterogeneous oligopoly because there are 2 or 3 firms which consists of more than 90% of the market share. If you take Colgate, only Colgate as an example, okay, and if you consider Pepsodent as another example, the brands which you have of Colgate Palmolive and of Hindustan Unilever, the toothpaste I'm talking about, the toothpaste which you are having of these 2 companies, they comprises of more than 90% share, Indian, at least Indian market I'm talking about, 90% share in the Indian market of toothpaste industry. Then this can be considered as an heterogeneous oligopoly. Okay, then what are the sources of oligopoly? How oligopoly generates? Because of huge capital investment which is required if you want to manufacture aluminium goods. If you want to get into petroleum business, then you need a huge capital investment. Again, if capital investment is involved, there will be an economies of scale. Definitely you need to have a large scale production facility. Patent rights to branded products, you can have a patency, okay, so that the other firms cannot copy your product. And the control of some firms over key raw materials, it is similar to what we had in monopoly also. There are certain raw materials which you can control, which you have control, so it is extremely difficult for new firms to enter into this industry if you have control of raw materials, which you find in KGF. Okay, the control was for the extraction of gold from that region. If you have control over that region, you will have control over the raw materials, and you can create a oligopoly or a monopoly itself. Then you have mergers and acquisition which are happening. Oligopoly can be created using mergers and acquisition, where the bigger firms are keep on acquiring smaller firms, like in online marketplace, online retail stores are there. Small companies like Myntra and Snapdeal and others are small companies which comes now and then, started by some startups. They get easily purchased by bigger firms, just like Flipkart, and even Flipkart got purchased by Walmart. okay, to compete with Amazon. So because of that mergers and acquisition happening, you an oligopoly can be created. So again, you can consider this online retail as oligopoly because they are into same line of business. They are selling the items which they are basically not manufacturing. Okay, there are some examples like of private label which they are manufacturing, but more or less they are selling the products which are being manufactured by other people. So other people, the other consumers, the manufacturers who are manufacturing the items are selling the items on Amazon also. There are competitors of those manufacturer who are producing the same items. They are selling the products on Amazon, on Flipkart. Okay, so the Amazon and Flipkart, this online retail business are can be considered under oligopoly. Okay, or most more precisely into homogeneous oligopoly. Okay, so there are some features where there are in oligopoly there will be small number of sellers. Independence of decision making will be there in oligopoly. And sorry, interdependence of decision making will be there. Independence will not be there, as there are very few firms. They need to compete. They need to keep on checking what the competitors are doing, because they are not able to what do you say, innovate or something, because they are selling almost the same kind of products. You can tell them as the homogeneous products. If Flipkart is reducing the prices, Amazon needs to reduce the prices, what the product they are providing. Okay, the services they are providing, they need to keep on checking about with their competitors how they are doing. Whereas for example, in maybe in mobile phones, if you are innovating your mobile phone, you are bringing some new features which is not there in the competitors features, then you don't need to there is no interdependence in terms of pricing. Your product is innovative, you can sell it at a higher price and customer will be ready to buy it. So there is no interdependence. So in mobile phone industry, you can take it and put it under monopolistic competition and not in oligopoly, because there is no interdependence. Interdependence comes when the product is very much similar of both the companies. So that's the reason the competitors need to keep on checking what the other player is doing. And the barrier of entry of new firms, there are some barriers because of economies of scale, because of strong customer loyalty to products. You cannot just come and start a petrol pump, okay, of a new brand. You need huge investment, you need huge lobbying, you need huge contacts in order to start a petrol pump company. I'm not telling to open up a petrol pump and take a franchisee of any company. I'm telling to start a brand new company. Just for an example, when Reliance petrol pumps started, okay, it started with they had huge investment, huge money, but uh, presently they are facing some problems, and they are planning they are selling their petrol pumps to some company. Another company is taking over some of the petrol pumps, and it is under talks. Okay, so I cannot discuss more about that, but you can study how Reliance Petroleum is working, how Shell came into India, and how it is operating. Okay, we can talk about that. And there is indeterminate price and output. Okay, well, in oligopoly market structure, indeterminate is the price and output. The characteristic fewness and interdependence of oligopoly makes derivation of their demand curve a difficult proposition. Therefore, price and output are said to be indeterminate. However, the price and output are said to be determined under collusive oligopoly. But there too, collusive may last it or it may break down. So, in oligopoly, there are pretty much the same product which they are selling, and the price interdependent on the competitors. So it is very difficult to determine the price and output under oligopoly. Like we did in perfect competition, the market determines what is the price and what is the output of demand. Okay, what is the product which is demanded. In monopoly and in monopolistic, I have given an explanation of a graph which is about determination of price and output. Whereas in oligopoly, it is very difficult to determine what is the price and output because of this factor. But in oligopoly, there are some models in your syllabus. There are basically two, which is Squeeze's king demand curve model and there is collusive model. In this collusive model, there is a cartel arrangement and price leadership model. There are three in this. So first I'll discuss regarding squeeze's demand of oligopoly, which is king demand curve model. um, okay, you can go through this, just for it is just for reference. In squeeze's king demand curve, I'll show you one explanation.
Okay, this is about oligopoly firm where there are very few sellers and very huge number of buyers. Okay, obviously, and this few numbers of sellers in oligopoly market are selling homogeneous products. So their products and services are more or less the same. So any of the firm cannot do any change in prices because the other firms are there who are the competitors of that firm, and they will try to take the customers from the firm who is altering its prices. So it's very difficult for the firm to alter any prices, and the firm in turn stick to the prices of all the remaining firms. So how this has happened, it is explained in the king demand curve model. So, in order to analyze the effects of possible reactions of the rival firms on the demand for the product of the firm initiating the change in price, we make this following assumptions. So, there are three assumptions which are mentioned. First is there are four oligopoly firms A, B, C, and D. Well, it doesn't matter there are four or five or three, but there are very few firms. That's what the first assumption says. Second assumption is the market demand is divided between the firms and all the firms face a uniform demand curve. That means no firm has a huge market share. All the four firms have a kind of a uniform demand curve, and market is divided almost equally between all these firms. The third assumption says all the firms are in equilibrium at a point of time, and all are maximizing their profit. All are trying to maximize their profits. So these are the assumptions of the squeeze's model of oligopoly. Along with these assumptions, now I'll explain the graph in the next slide, which is called as the king demand curve model. So in our graph, there are two axes. The x-axis represents the quantity, y-axis represents price and cost, and this is our origin O. And we have, or these four firms have, the price P, which is also called as the equilibrium price. At this price, all the four firms are selling their products. Okay, so as it is mentioned, there are four companies or four firms A, B, C, and D. We are going to analyze what happens when the firm A changes the price, what the rival firms B, C, and D will do. Okay, so going with the first one, reaction 1. In reaction 1, it says when firm A increases or decreases its price, the rival firms follow the suit. That means if firm A increases its price, then the firm B, C, D, all the three firms will also increase the price. That means they'll do exactly the same thing which the firm A is doing. And also on the other side, if firm A decreases the price of its products, all the other three firms B, C, and D will also reduce the price of their products. So in this case, in this scenario, when the firm A will find itself moving along the demand curve MN, okay, and while moving along this demand curve, the firm A will not lose anything but not gain also anything. Okay, so this is about the reaction 1. Now let us see what is reaction 2 says all about. In reaction 2, if the rival firms do not react to the price changes made by the firm A, what will happen? This is the firm A which is increasing the prices, and this is the price of B, C, and D firm, which is exactly the same. The B, C, and D firms are not increasing their prices, they're keeping the price same. And on the other hand, if firm A reduces the prices, the price of B, C, and D remains the same. That means whatever the firm A is doing, B, C, and D firms are not reacting to it. So in this case, what will happen? In the first case, if price of A increases and price of B, C, and D remain same, the consumers who are the customers of A, of the firm A, will now shift to firm B, C, and D as the price have risen. And in the second case, if firm A reduces the prices and B, C, and D do not reduce the price, then customers from B, C, and D will shift to firm A as firm A has reduced the price. So because of this, the firm A will find itself moving along the demand curve DD dash. In the first case, in the first DP curve, first part of the curve DD dash, which is DP, the firm A has increased the price of its product and it has lost the customers. And in the second part of the demand curve, which is PD dash, the firm A has reduced the price of the product and the other firms have not reduced. So firm A is gaining the customers, which is PD will be the more advantageous for the firm A, and whereas DP will be more disadvantageous for the firm A. Okay, so this was about the reaction 2. Now let us see what will happen in reaction 3. Reaction 3 is more relevant as per the market. It says when firm A raises its price and the rival firms do not follow, then firm A loses a part of its market share to the rival firms. That means when firm A is increasing the prices, the other three firms B, C, D are not increasing their prices. They are keeping the prices same. So because of this, the firm A will lose its customers to B, C, and D firms. So because of this, the relevant demand curve for firm A will be DP, which was the first part in the second reaction. Okay, so this is the on this curve DP, the firm A will find itself when it increases the prices and the other firms do not increase because there is a competition. Okay, but when firm A decreases its price, the rival firms react by cutting down their own prices by an equal amount or even more. Okay, that means if firm A reduces the prices, keeping in mind the competition, the firm B, C, and D also reduces their prices by equal amount, or it may happen sometimes they'll reduce the price even more to catch more of the customers from firm A. So because of this, the curve which they will move will be the second part of the reaction 1, that is PN curve. Okay, so the combination of the two curves in reaction 3 will be DP curve and PN curve. So this will be a kind of a DPN curve in the reaction 3 of the King demand curve. So if we observe here, this is not a straight curve definitely. We are having a kink at this point P, which is rotating. Okay, so at point P, we are having a kink. So that's the reason this is called as a King demand curve. Well, this from the exam perspective, if King demand curve model comes, this is the final answer you can write. Okay, so but if you remember from the module 3, we have done about we have drawn the average revenue, marginal cost. So if we try to implement all those things in King demand curve, let's see what happens. So this is our two axis. This is our origin. This is our point P at equilibrium. This is our MN curve. This is our D dash curve. And we are having our DP and PN curve. So DPN is our King demand curve. And we have PQ as the point or the line rather in which it signifies that PQ is the price of the product which the company needs to keep, and OQ is the quantity of the products the all the firms need to manufacture. Because, and if you can observe, there are two demand curves here. MN is one demand curve, D dash is another demand curve. Okay, we can consider this demand curve as the average revenue or the AR curves. So if you remember in the previous graph also, in the monopolistic competition graph, we have drawn AR and MR. So if you observe D dash, if you consider this as the AR curve, the MR curve will have more slope, or the maximum or the double the slope of the D dash curve. So we will have MR curve starting from D and going all the way like this. Okay, like this. So we will be having the MR curve as DJ. So DJ up till the point J we will be having. I'll explain why. So DJ is the MR curve which will correspond to D dash, or rather DP, as the average revenue curve. Okay, so this is our DJ is our marginal revenue, and if we consider MN as the marginal sorry, the average revenue, then we'll also have a marginal revenue which will start from M and go all the way down here. Okay, so we are not going to make it from here, but rather we'll start it from here, as a relevant average revenue curve is starts from P and ends at N. So PN curve can be considered as the average revenue here. So our marginal revenue will be KL. Okay, so we are getting the net marginal revenue as DJKL curve, and the gap which is between J and K, this corresponds to our marginal costs, which starts from MC1 and goes till MCN. So if we consider DJ and the point at point J, this is the marginal revenue, and the MCN is the marginal cost curve. So when marginal revenue and marginal cost are meeting here at point J, this is the point at which I need to stop the production. This is the maximum quantity I can manufacture. I cannot go more than Q. Similarly, this is proven here at point K. Okay, this is the marginal revenue. Okay, and this is the marginal cost, MC1. So at this point again I'm having an equilibrium. So this PQ represents the equilibrium quantity, and PQ, which is the line which represents the equilibrium quantity, which is Q, and equilibrium price as P. So for all the firms, all the four firms, if we need to calculate the equilibrium quantity or the maximum quantity they can produce in order to don't have any loss and get try to maximize their profit, is OQ. Okay, which is rotating here now. Okay, so OQ is the maximum quantity and PQ is the maximum price, and at P we are having a kink. So this is all about the kinked demand curve.
Okay, so after squeezee's demand curve, we move on to the collusive models of oligopoly. In collusive models, as I have told above, there are two, which is cartel formation, and then there is price leadership agreements. Cartel formation, that is association of firms. Okay, what happens in a cartel model? Cartel model in which is formed when the firms, the competing firms in the oligopoly, come together, meet each other, and decide on certain price or selling of certain number of products, okay, from their company. So as to everyone will be benefiting, all the competitors will be benefiting. As there are a few competitors, they can easily meet and decide, they can have a collusion between them. Okay, a decision where the joint profit maximization by cartel, they can tell that how much products will be producing. As there are 4 or 5 competitors, they will come together Like in squeezee's demand curve, it was the opposite. All the firms were very much competitive in nature, whereas in cartel all the firms will meet together, they can decide we will maximize the profit, we'll reduce our costs, we'll increase our prices. They can discuss and they can decide anything on that. They can have a profit maximization, uh, and they can create a cartel. They can have a cartel by market sharing. If there are four companies can tell we will be each will be selling 25%, will be acquiring basically 25% of the market share only. Will not try to increase the market share, and no one will try to decrease the market share of one company. So 25% of the market share will be acquired by one company, 25 by another company, 25 by third company, 25 by fourth company. So the entire market is divided by these four firms, and each four firms is sharing equal number of equal amount of market share, okay, by deciding. So this is how a cartel arrangement can be created. There is a non-price competition agreement also can be created. A quota system can be created. That means I cannot sell my products to more customers. I'll be only catering to 25% of the customers. Okay, and the third one, the next one is about the price leadership model. Okay, in the collusive model of oligopoly. So in price leadership model, the firm having a leadership, okay, in the price, there can be a firm who can be a low cost firm, or any kind of a firm, which will, when it will decide the price, the other firms will be following that prices. Okay, so when that can happen, when the price leadership by low cost firm, when the firm will be producing the items at a very low cost, so that firm will keep the price very low, and the other competitor needs to follow that prices, okay, in order to stay in the market. There can be price leadership by dominant firm. The firm which is dominant, which has the maximum market share, if that firm is keeping a certain price, then the other firms will follow it. Then the price leadership by barometric firm, the firm which is having a perfect knowledge of market, what the customer is willing to pay and buy the product, that this firm has the perfect knowledge, and this firm is keeping a certain price, the other firm will follow it. So, and discussing in detail the price leadership by low cost firm, if there is a company which is manufacturing products at economies of scale, by now you have understood what is economies of scale. So because of that economies of scale, the firm is producing more articles, and per unit cost of production has gone down. Because of that, the cost has gone down, and as the cost has gone down, the company can keep the price of its product very low. Okay, it can afford um, the price. Okay, so because of that, the other firms which are selling the similar kind of products, there is no, as we are in oligopoly, there are no much product differentiation factors, they are selling almost the same kind of product. So if one company which is a low cost firm is keeping the price of the product very low, the other company needs to follow it in order to stay in the market, or otherwise the customers will only buy from this first company which is keeping the prices very low. So other companies needs to follow this. And the price leadership by dominant firm, in this case, the dominant firm which is there, if it decides to keep price low or high, okay, as it is having the maximum amount of market share, and if it is keeping a certain price, say about 50 rupees for one article, there are certain small companies which can sell their products by keeping 40 rupees, 10 rupees lesser, but the customer will feel that the dominant firm who is having the highest market share is keeping the price 50, and if the competitor is keeping the price at 40, then in that case the quality which the competitor is offering might be less. The quality might be same, but the customer might feel that as the dominant firm, the all the products in the market which we can see, okay, they are of dominant firm and they are having 50 rupees as the price, And if the other small company is keeping 40 rupees as the price, then the customer might feel the quality of the product is not low. Okay, no, sorry, the quality of the product is low, so that's the reason the customer might not buy the product. So even in that case, even you need to a small company need to keep the price 50 or maybe 48 or something like that, so in order to stay in the market, so they need to follow the dominant firm. So dominant firm can definitely keep higher prices or even lower prices also. Right, so, okay, and the other firms will follow it. And the next one is about barometric price leadership. I've underlined, uh, there is a firm which have a better knowledge of prevailing market condition and has an ability to predict them more precisely than of its competitors. So there is a firm who can predict what can be the market price needs to be kept. Okay, so that firm will tell what is the price of the product, and the other firms will follow it. Okay, you can go through this. And then the final part of this model is about the pricing strategies. First is about cost plus pricing. It is very simple, you can just go through this. First is about cost plus pricing. Cost plus pricing is whatever cost a company is generating, plus I'm keeping some margin for me. Okay, so the cost plus the margin, I'll able to easily determine what is the price of the product. Okay, there is a good amount of explanation given. And then the multiple product pricing, when the product when there are many products which has been manufactured by the companies, in that case multiple product pricing will be coming in. So multiple products will be analyzed, and what one product needs to keep, the price of the one product, and the company needs to keep, that has been determined, and then they will keep it. So they will be analyzing about marginal revenue and the marginal cost, the cost which is, because all the products will be manufactured under same roof, and there will be different kinds of pricing for each and every type of product. When there is like in marketing you have studied about product line, length and depth, sorry, width and depth. So in product line there will be similar kind of products which are manufactured by using the same process with slight differences. That when the pricing of that kind of product is happening, you need to take into consideration what is the total cost which is involved. Okay, and then you will be keeping the prices. Okay, there are some examples, you can go through. Then the third is about the pricing of a life cycle, pricing in the life cycle of a product. There are 4 stages in the life cycle: the introduction, growth, maturity, and saturation or decline. And in this case, the pricing of the product will be in such that in the introduction phase, if you want to penetrate into the market, then you will be keeping it very low. If you are skimming the market, you can keep very high, because the customers don't have a reference point in the introduction phase of the product, that what can be the price of the product. Okay, and then in the second stage is about the growth of the industry, the growth of the products, and many competitors are coming in into the same market, and the product is getting sold, the consumers are buying in huge quantities. There are a lot of consumers who are ready to buy your product, and that is the growth phase. In this growth phase, you can keep the price of the product reasonable, so that the customers are getting attracted to your products. You can consider EV as maybe somewhere between introduction and growth stage, where you don't have a much reference point what can be the price of an EV, why they are costly. Okay, maybe some of the electric vehicles are double the price of the petrol two-wheelers, and even for the four-wheelers, they are almost double the price of the four-wheelers which we are getting on petrol and diesel. Why they are there? We don't have any reference point. So in introduction, the EVs are kind of somewhere in between introduction and growth phase. Okay, so now you are checking there are some companies who are coming EV with more uh, driving capacity, if you on a single charge you can drive more than 100 kilometers, but the price has been reducing. Okay, most of the EV, almost all EVs were somewhere above 1 lakh rupees. okay, and their driving range was not that much. It was somewhere around 100 and below 100. Now there are certain electric two wheelers where they are manufacturing, and they are selling at below 1 lakh, and their capacity is more than 100 kilometers on a single charge, which is somewhere around 3 to 4 hours you will be charging, and you can drive more than 100 kilometers, and the price is less than 1 lakh rupees. So now they are entering into growth stage. Now they have started to compete with each other. And then again, in maturity stage, you will be achieving maturity, you will be under red ocean, you will be competing, you will be giving schemes, you will be pushing a product into the market. Just for example, the retail, online retail. And then there is saturation and decline phase, in which your product is no longer required by the customers, or very few customers are there to whom you are selling a product. So you need to keep the prices bare minimum of your costs. Okay, you don't need to capitalize on your margin. You cannot increase your margin much in the decline phase. Okay, so then it is about pricing of a new product during introduction stage. I explained it. You can skim the price, you can penetrate. Then there is loss leader pricing. Okay, you can sell it at a price lesser, uh, which is not profitable, but you want to enter into the market, so that's the reason you are doing this. Then there is pricing under maturity period. I explained pricing under decline again. Then the pricing to pricing in relation to established products. Okay, it is about pricing below the ongoing prices. When the products are already established and then you are entering into the market, then you need to price, you need to enter with the price below the ongoing prices. The ongoing prices is maybe 1 lakh rupees. You need to enter into the market with maybe 80,000 or 75,000 as the price of your product. Okay, you can enter into uh, the market by keeping price below the ongoing prices. The second is about pricing at par with prevailing market prices. Whatever the market prices is there, okay, you can keep that market price same, or you can price above the existing market price. Okay, above the existing market price, how you can keep, because there might be some unique thing in your product, or your offering, or some scheme. Okay, so in that case you can keep your price of product above the market price as well. And the final thing in this entire chapter is about peak load pricing. Peak load pricing is the changes in the pricing of that same product when there is a demand of that product at a certain time. When there is low demand of the product, then you can decrease the price. When there is high demand for that product, you can increase the price. You can take an example of electricity, or the data charges of mobile phone companies. The data usage and during the night time is quite low, because all the offices and companies and factories and many people are still, almost all people, everyone is sleeping. So during night time there is less usage of data, so company will offer low cost for the data usage at night time. And in the daytime, as the data usage increases, the company can tell uh, the data charges is high during the daytime. That used to happen. Nowadays you don't see that much, but it used to happen. Same way for electricity usage after maybe 10 o'clock or so, the electricity charges per unit will go down somewhat like this. Okay, that can be done by electricity companies, and during daytime it will be much higher. Okay, because the load which during the daytime will be higher, and during the night time it will be lower. Okay, and also for seasonal things, also seasonal products also, you can have a peak load pricing, just not for the day and night. And then some important questions I have mentioned. Okay, now don't leave this. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening.